theory because some have said that this is why the Israelis did this, brought the plane down, as a retaliation for the Moral Pact.
So just because I need to make sure I'm clarifying the parties here. PLO, Palestinian Liberation Front.
Palestine Liberation Organization.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And they are totally anti-Israel.
Yeah, very much.
So that would and the Mossad is the Israeli
intelligence.
Okay,
yeah.
So that explains the clashing of the heads and the reprisal.
Yeah. The PLO is actually kind of an umbrella group. It's an organization. The largest group is under it is Fatah, which was Yasser Arafat's organization that he organized, and some other organizations also were brought under the umbrella of the PLO. So it was kind of a somewhat more fragmented thing than a lot of people like to give it credit
in
for.
general.
Essentially, this represented the Palestinian cause on the one side, and they're not totally analogous. I mean, the Mossad is more intelligence and also wet work. They did plenty of wet work, by the way. It comes with the territory. But as far as this being retaliation for the Moral Pact, I have a problem with this, which as far as I can tell, the Moral Pact was not actually concluded or implemented until after December 1973.
But if they did release the five guys, then it could be retaliation for simply having done that.
For having released those guys, exactly. So I don't think it was retaliation for the Moral Pact, because essentially there's those two theories. One, retaliation for the Moral Pact. Number two, releasing these five guys.
It could have been pre-retaliation. I mean, if it was implemented in 1973, November of 1972 is when we're talking this happened, right?
No, it was November 73.
November 73, so the pact was later 73.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and we all know how politics work, right? I mean, it takes a while. So if if the Mossad had gotten wind that this was going to happen, it could have been like a preemptive, like, hey, don't do this or else you see what happens. And they did it anyway. And,
a warning sign.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is like, the Mossad really screwed up because they brought down this plane, and the Italians looked at it and said, well, is there a message here? Well, damned if I can tell. I think the plane just fell out of the sky.
Yeah.
And so obviously, they picked the wrong target.
Or they were too good at their job.
They just didn't pick, they chose to send a rather garbled message.
Mm-hmm. But it could be, actually, Joe, I'll counter that, though. It could be a garbled message, or it could be the people that they wanted to get the message got the message, they just didn't care.
Mm-hmm.
That is always a possibility. The guy that you're trying to send your message to, he totally gets it. He just didn't give a rip.
Well, it's that's the thing about it too, is that the Italians, if the Italians got the message about the Moral Pact and they decided, the Israelis are angry, but on balance, the Palestinians are going to murder a lot more Italians than the Israelis are going to. And so, that makes sense to make the Israelis mad and not the PLO. Okay, there you go. Problem solved. But as to the other iteration of this theory, which was that it was retaliation for releasing the 5 Black September terrorists, I'm not sure exactly, and I looked on the interwebs to find out exactly how long they were held before they were released. I don't think they didn't just automatically catch them and just release them.
This isn't like fly fishing.
No, not at all. So I don't know.
Wait, is it spy fishing?
Yeah,
it would be like spy fishing.
I like it. Oh, let's make a movie about that. Spy fishing. But it really is hard to say if Argo 16 was in retaliation, again, without knowing exactly when they were released. And also, there wasn't a lot of time to mount a retaliatory operation because, remember, there was the October War from the 6th to the 25th of October 1973. Presumably, that occupied Israel's time and attention quite a bit.
Right.
So how much time did they actually have and manpower to downing this obscure plane? I don't know. And also, there's also the fact that the Italians cooperated with them. They actually helped to foil the plot to bring down the plane, the 747.
Yeah, there's a lot of problems.
They gave them the missile, and they actually helped them out in the October War of '73.
Yeah, I think overall it's not.
Yeah,
there's a lot of problems.
It's not the best theory.
It's not good.
It's a more fun theory than, they went into a tailspin on accident, but I don't think it's a good theory.
No, it's not. But, I think one of the reasons it's popular in Europe is that dark Mossad plots are really common currency in a lot of parts of the world.
Yeah.
And especially in Europe. There's a lot of conspiracy theories surrounding the Mossad. This one just doesn't fly. I don't think the Mossad did it.
Okay.
I see no reason to do it, number one. I just don't.
All right.
Okay, so what else?
There's not a lot else here, but there's a lot of people have brought up this possibility, which is Operation Gladio. Ever heard of Gladio?
No.
Yeah.
I used to play Nintendo games, and there was the game Gladius.
Gladius? That's close enough. Okay. That's what it is.
Was Gladius? Oh, man. It was Gladius, and I think it was a spaceship game. God, I can't remember. I'm going to go home and look that up.
If the name Operation Gladio sounds familiar, it's because we talked about it in our September 21st, 2017 episode. Except, oops, I'm giving away our time travel secret.
Yeah.
Up. Okay, never mind. Just blank that out of your head. Gladio was a shadowy operation. It began at the end of World War II, and it was called Operation Gladio in Italy. And as far as I know, that was kind of the umbrella name for the entire operation Europe-wide, because there were similar organizations in almost every other Western European country.
All under different names.
With different names, yeah. And there were a lot of cells out there, and what these guys were is they were a stay-behind force of commando types, almost like Green Beret types, like
Red
force
Dawn.
multipliers. Yeah, exactly. But these were, hardcore trained military types, and obviously they had lots and lots of weapons caches. These guys weren't just regular private citizens. I mean, they were government employees. They were soldiers.
So the original Red Dawn, not the remake then.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Oh, that's right. They did remake that movie. I haven't seen that yet.
Don't.
Yeah, really? Okay. So the idea was that these guys would be sort of deep cover guys, and they would stay in place. If the Soviets invaded Europe and occupied Europe, these people would stay in place and train and arm other citizens and mount guerrilla attacks. And
they were a resistant force, yeah, a subversive force.
Organize the resistance, and that was the plan. And that's why, of course, they had to have huge stashes of weapons, which I kind of wonder if they were all rounded up, if there's still a few out there. That'd be kind of cool. It has been rumored that some of the Operation Gladio soldiers became kind of a rogue force in some places in Europe. They were staging assassinations and such on their own. I've never been able to find any real confirmation of this. That's the big question, is like, were these guys like disciplined military units who followed orders, or did they go rogue? I obviously, from an internet standpoint or even a literary standpoint, it's more fun to think that they went rogue, right?
Well, and over the course of 30 years, that's easy to imagine.
Yeah, they get kind
of bored.
They get a little bored, and they've been waiting for World War III for how long now? And then, by the way, we have access to these huge piles of weapons. I could see where going out and then creating a little mayhem would be kind of a temptation.
It makes me think of more than one phone call / text message that I've got from you, sir, which is, hey, you want to go blow something up? You want to go shoot some guns?
Yeah, let's go kill something. Yeah.
Well, no, you're blowing stuff up.
Yeah.
Shooting it.
Yeah, just a building or two,
No.
Yeah. No.
Bottles and cans.
Just kidding, yeah. But so, yeah, I mean, we all have kind of those temptations. It's fun.
But these guys were eventually dismantled.
Eventually, in the 90s.
They never really saw any action, so
no.
I mean, we don't know if they were really doing anything.
Well, and furthermore, how does it connect to the Argo?
Yeah, well, here is the connection, and this is not well documented either, but it's out there. It's a popular theory. But it's been said that Argo 16, among other clandestine-type planes, transported armaments and soldiers for Operation Gladio in Italy. And that's certainly plausible. I mean, a secret spy plane, transporting secret armaments and secret commando types, I guess that makes sense. It's not, again, even though I can't document it, I don't know if you guys were able to find anything.
No. Nothing solid, no.
No, yeah, at all. But the theory on this one is that the Italian government tried to rein in Operation Gladio in Italy, starting in 1973. The reason being, of course, this whole out-of-control thing. They had rogue elements, and you know how politicians are. They just don't like the idea of having people in their country who aren't totally under their control. And these people weren't they weren't totally under Italian government control. And so the theory is that the Gladio operators retaliated by bringing down Argo 16. That was their sending a message. Hey, don't mess with us. Don't try to close us down and take our guns away. we dropped your plane. And then the Italian government theoretically backed off. Didn't try anything more until about 1990, which was when the whole operation Europe-wide was essentially phased out.
Well, it was uncovered. And that's when it became quite public.
Yeah, some of it became publicized, but also about that time, of course, we've got the fall of the Soviet Union and all that stuff, and so it didn't seem really as necessary anymore. And it'd be interesting, actually. I'm going to do a little more research on this because there's got to be at least one guy who was part of this whole operation who wrote a book about it, and I want to try to find that out. So far, I've looked around a little bit. I haven't found it. I haven't found that guy in this book, but there's got to be somebody who wrote a book about it.
Hey, Devin, what was it that you said on the last theory?
This is really obscure messaging and...
Oh, you mean with like Argo 16 dropping them because of the... Well, yeah, that's the whole thing is that, well, first off, I can't find any actual evidence or documentation that the Italian government actually made any moves against Operation Gladio, although, of course, they were super secret, so
maybe, but
I guess it would be a secret if they made moves against them.
How did the Argo connect to Operation Gladio? And
well, yeah, again, it's like you're sending a pretty garbled message there, huh?
Yeah.
Because the way I see it, if the Ministry of the Interior is trying to clamp down on your operation, then you want to go bomb their headquarters, right?
Well, I mean, I guess I can see, message hits the right people, everything's super secret, so they're obviously not going to come out and say, especially investigators aren't going to come out and say, oh, yeah, these super secret agents that we have that have gone rogue, that we've been trying to shut down and we can't shut down, bombed this airplane and brought it down, and that's who did it. Obviously, you can't say that. I mean, so I can understand maybe the right person did get the message and they did back off, but again, it's so tinfoil.
Well, it is. I mean, it's, again, it just strikes me that you're bringing down the wrong target.
Yeah.
So anyway, the bringing down Argo 16 is just, to me, just doesn't send any message at all.